We have our first space movie of the series. I'm so excited that it was The Martian. I've admittedly seen this one before, but it became apparent right off the bat that there was quite a bit that I'd forgotten about this film, so a refresher was definitely needed. But honestly, it was really nice to watch this one again. From plot to actors and actresses, there was quite a bit that I did forget. But compared to the last couple of movies that we've covered, I remember this one being a lot more chill in the sense that it was slightly more believable than the crazy comedy of Get Shorty, all of the insane violence in Saw 2, and I'm just not even gonna get into Jagged Edge. Before we get into our 2015 movie, however, let's hit a quick recap of the film and get those box office stats. With a budget of $108 million, The Martian generated an overall domestic revenue of $228,433,663 at the box office. As is the norm for almost all of our 2015 movies, The Martian also took the #1 spot in monthly earnings with $179,446,657. No shade on those that don't make the monthly cut, though. This movie is about astronaut Mark Watney after he's been abandoned on Mars. Assumed dead after a savage storm separates him from the rest of his crew, Watney finds himself taking on his perilous situation alone. With his sharp intellect and courage, he's able to get in touch with NASA and his crew, and the interplanetary mission goes underway to get him safely back home. Now on to the video.
It has been 7 days since I ran out of ketchup.
This movie had an astounding 199 award nominations and 40 wins in total, including a couple of Golden Globes in the comedy and Best Actor in a Comedy Motion Picture categories. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with it being labeled as a comedy. I remember watching the Golden Globes that year and people just kind of giving each other questioning looks, and there being a little bit of discourse on the interwebs about whether or not this should be labeled as a comedy. And I will say that Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon, was super funny, but really it was just him as far as the comedy aspect of this movie went. He was just a guy who was making the best of his situation and was being super silly for the vast majority of it to keep his spirits up. And where I did find myself laughing quite a bit when he was on the screen, because that is the point, it didn't really check all the boxes for comedy for me. And maybe it's because I'm not a super huge fan of comedies as a whole, and this one was an excellent movie for me, but all of the other movies in that category were kind of robbed. I don't know where this one would have fit in, but I don't think it really stuck in the comedy category. I definitely think Matt Damon deserved an award because he was phenomenal in this, but again, Best Actor in a Comedy Motion Picture, I don't know. Outside of Matt Damon, like, everyone in this film had stellar performances. For like the space crew, we have Jessica Chastain, Michael Pena, Kate Mara, Sebastian Stan, and Axel Henny, and all of them just had amazing performances. Even the smallest ones, they just felt like genuine people. Oh my god, right off the bat in this film, less than 5 minutes into it, you are thrown into the throes of the crazy storm that ends up getting Mark Watney separated. And there's minimal time to get to know these astronauts, this crew, but you really are getting a feel for how they work together, their characters themselves through the insane situation, them helping each other out, that desperate search for Mark Watney, even if it is short, because they themselves have to get out, you know, it's the greater good, if you will, and just the devastation in that short amount of time. You could just really feel how close they were. And holy crap, I would be freaking out so much more in that situation, definitely trying to keep a level head, but oh my god, these people were so steely and amazing for holding under such pressure, but were still every bit real and human. And after that scene, obviously there's more time for them to build up their characters more, and you can't help but like every single one of them. They're all funny, they're all great, they all work together really well. And with how many characters are in this film, they do such a good job of building up this tight-knit family feel between all of them in the time that they have on screen. As far as the Earthlings go, as far as actors go, we have Sean Bean, Jeff Daniels, Kristen Wiig, Donald Glover, Benedict Wong, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and so many more. I can't cover all of them, but oh my gosh, even if I didn't like some of the characters, because we're talking about a man's life and some of them were not giving the answers that were most favorable, i.e. Teddy Sanders, played by Jeff Daniels, they still had phenomenal performances, all of them. This is another movie that's also based off of a book. I have it on my shelf and I haven't yet read it, and that's on me, but I really, really do want to go read it because I want to do the book to movie comparison thing. I love it so much. But one of the things that I already love about this book was the author, Andy Weir, is like the biggest nerd. And honestly, I think you've got to be a little bit of a nerd to write such a high-tech, high-science level book. But he apparently wrote his own computer programs using actual Earth and Mars alignment data to determine the best theoretical date for the Ares 3 mission to launch. I'm like, God, I love that. He did admit, however, that the biggest inaccuracy in the story was the storm, the catalyst for this entire story. Apparently, a fierce storm on Mars would be something like a light breeze, just because of like the atmospheric pressure difference. So it'd be super, super tame compared to like something here on Earth. The storm would be more akin to something here on Earth or a different planet than what would have happened on Mars. Do I care too much? Not really. I'm okay with overlooking this one error because it's such a good movie. I absolutely loved just watching Mark Watney deal with his situation, because for me, I would be like, what the fuck do I do? A lot of people would be like, what the fuck do I do? Even at the end, he's like, you can either give up or get to work. I'm like, I would probably sit in despair for a couple of days before I could think about getting to work, you know? But he's just such a positive and uplifting character. Like, the entire film was so uplifting. And it could have been a little bit cheesy had he not done such an amazing job. Like, you really truly believed him. And there's moments where you're like, how can this guy be so happy in this situation? And then you'll have your moments of him like super upset and kind of screaming it out for a second before reorienting and getting back to work, which I truly loved, again, because it just made him so human and everything. They did a really good job of balancing, I'm gonna say, the happy-go-lucky vibe, considering that he's in such a bleak situation with what's going on down on Earth. There's a point in the film where they spend an extended period focusing on the Earth crew, trying to figure out what to do, and it is amazing how that brief period disconnects you from what's happening with Mark, like almost to the point of desensitizing you, kind of like what's happening with the team. You have Teddy Sanders, my least favorite character because he was just so corporate, by the book. We have to think about our losses, and I'm over here like, that's a whole ass human being. But again, I'm also the viewer who's also right there with Mark on Mars, so I can see all of that's happening, but he can't. And it's just, they did a really good job of pulling you out enough to see his perspective of it. You still want to help him out, much like everyone else on the team, but you can see a little bit more how Teddy Sanders would be thinking that way. And then just, I have to interject a super geeky moment for me. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Shock, the elf girl would be a huge Lord of the Rings fan. But the Project Elrond scene, I'd completely and totally forgotten about it. And I absolutely loved that fucking Boromir, Sean Bean, is sitting there in the room for Project Elrond. I'm just like, oh my God. I got way too much enjoyment out of it. Too much. But yeah, it was just insane to see like the Earth crew treating him like a statistic or leverage. It seemed so inhuman, but that was kind of the duality of it, right? Is that you have these guys on Earth that really have no appreciation for what's going on up there. And it kind of makes you feel like they don't have truly an appreciation for life when you compare it to Mark Watney, who's up there just struggling to survive on Mars, and then his crew also just deciding how they're going to spend another year of their life. Are they going to come home, get home sooner, or are they going to spend, I think it's actually a year and a half, going back to get him and then come home? It's just, what do you do? Down on Earth, it's just so by the books. Yes, they are going out of their way to help Mark get home. Like, I love the scene, the Starman scene, where there's a team literally sitting there with the replicas of what Mark has up on Mars, and it shows them like drilling holes into the top of the replicas and like jumping on it, and then it cuts to Mark Watney doing the same thing. But like the higher ups are where I had the issue. It felt like all of the hands-on teams were far more involved than the higher ups, which was the case, but it was infuriating. I had a really hard time with the PR chick and Teddy Sanders, the director of NASA. the scene where Mark Watney is just sitting there shortly after patching himself up, you could just really feel a man waiting for death, and understandably so, but he keeps going. And it's amazing. Even like the physical transition from him habitating in the hab, where he can like grow his potatoes and can live and sleep in there comfortably, to basically van life in the rover, because the hab ends up like blowing up a little bit and he can't safely be in there for too long. And then detaching from the hab entirely and going on, I think for like 3 weeks on the road to get to the launch point, to get him into the vessel that's going to carry him out into space to reconnect with his crew after 500 and umpteen days by himself. Oh, and the scene where he finally gets to contact them for the first time and he starts tearing up. And I've seen this film before, right? I know what happens, and yet my heart was still pounding the entire time, like as shit was going down. And like when he hears their voices for the first time in like, again, 500 and whatever days, and starts tearing up, I was tearing up, and I'm like, fuck, you've seen this before, why are you tearing up? But he did such a good job, and he was so just full of life and fighting for it, and he was just such a wonderful character. So to see the higher ups just being like, I don't know, I don't really want to sacrifice the crew to go get him. We're gonna kind of do whatever we can to fit him into our schedule, to, all right, let's speed this up, but we're gonna cut corners, to finally we're gonna maybe do the right thing, we have an option, but I don't know. And it's finally only whenever someone slips the crew the plans under the table that they finally go all in. And it was just so frustrating. And I get that was the point, but holy shit, fighting for his life every second of every day to, we'll see. I loved all the teams that were going out of their way to help out. I thought it was awesome to see them working their asses off to get it done. And I loved the scene at the end, even though it was corny and cheesy as fuck, with all the different countries sitting there watching his rescue mission. Like, I just loved it. I loved it, but it was the higher ups that were like, man, fuck you. Go get him. Commit that mutiny. And they did it, and they got him, and I loved it. I love the happy ending. It was great. And I hope we get to watch more of these in the series, because these are the kinds of movies that I think of whenever I'm like, oh yeah, we get to watch all these magical films in the series. And then we get stuff like Wedding Crashers and Jagged Edge, and I'm like, ooh, God. We have to get through some really shitty ones to get to these movies, to The Martian. It makes it worth it. If you've seen this one, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any more space movies that are kind of like this one for me, I'd totally be down for recommendations. Normally the space sci-fi movies I watch involve like an alien that's trying to destroy everything. So this one was super nice and like still very high stakes, but in a very real world sense. But until then, I will see you guys next time back in 1985.